Alright, we're in yet again, and oh god, oh god. Brothers, sisters, I don't even know what to make of today's tiering shifts. Oh my lord. Every tier got scuffed beyond scuffed, man. Like, you got over like 100 new Pokemon or something. And if you discount the ones that like dropped to tiers like RU, NU, PU, etc., you still got like over 30 drops or something insane. But even our wholesome tier of NU, they couldn't leave us alone, man. And we got some broken stuff. We lost some stuff. I'm gonna try to go over what I think is at least relevant. I got these 6 here as the ones that I view as most relevant. I'll give some commentary on one other like drops that I can think of that we got. But I feel these 6 are the ones that are most likely to have a long-term impact in the tier, or just be outright banned. So I'm going to try to give my explanations for all those. And of course, if you end up liking the content, you know, sub, please. Like the video, maybe? Just some food for thought, yeah. Let's start with Taurus. Now, Taurus is a Pokemon that I had anticipated ending up RU at one point at least, because like with the Lord Power Creep, it's really pretty darn good offensively with its combination of coverage and just power. It's got sheer force, it's got pretty decent attack and speed. You know, you run something like this. Well, you'd probably run Naive on here. Give this a Life Orb, you get moves like Body Slam, you get moves like Surf, Close Combat, Earthquake. It's got a lot going for it, and its natural bulk isn't even that bad. It's just overall a really... it's hard to deal with, right? And I'm gonna just say this right now, in Vanilluxe are 2 Pokemon that I went and gone right now. But to elaborate a bit more, as you look at what NU has to do with Taurus, Kofa? This doesn't show like all of the Pokemon in the tier, by the way, but like realistically, you don't need to see all of them. Taurus really doesn't have a whole bunch of great checks. It's like I can think of Kofa, Weezing, maybe. Also, like, you know, depending on which ability you choose here, maybe there's something else that you could get going for you, like this canceling out Sheer Force or this making you immune to Earthquake. But far from a consistent answer. Girder, I guess. I had been trying out some Fizdef Clefairy as a means of answering Taurus, because Fizdef Clef's a pretty good mon overall. And if you get rid of the Life Orb, yeah, you're a pretty consistent answer. Because the Sheer Force, you don't ever have to worry about Body Slam paralyzing you. So that just makes counterplaying a lot easier, and you can, as long as you avoid crits, you can weave in like Moonblast Chip with your Soft Bolt healing. And overall, just wear down Taurus. But like, it's just so hard outside of those very limited answers to find something consistent. I mean, I guess maybe looking beyond that, I could look at the Gorgeists. Maybe they are okay, but Taurus got Throat Chop this gen, and I think that was Game Freak's way of trying to compensate for removing Pursuit. They're like, alright, well, may as well give it a move to hit Ghost type, so let's give it an even stronger one that doesn't allow them switching out. And that's why things like Rotom, like Gorgeist, I'll say small, because it's the more viable one, even though Super rose to NU, makes Frost lastless. Willing to try to switch in, although that would be a speed tie anyway, so that like Ghost doesn't want to really try to switch in. Not like it could do anything other than explode. It's really hard to switch into, and then you got the problem of how fast it is. 110 is incredible. I would say generally 105 is where you're like looking at unboosted Pokemon going, wow, that's fast. Rapidash, Scyther pre tier shifts. Tauros hitting that 110 spot, oh, it's even above all the Sylvalies, man. It's got a lot going for it. I think it's pretty clear that tier doesn't have a lot of means of dealing with it. As I feel with Vanilluxe. I saw one person in the NU Discord arguing against a Vanilluxe quick ban, and yeah, no, I vehemently disagree with any notion that Vanilluxe could be balanced. There ain't a damn chance in my eyes that this Pokemon is balanced. Now, we do have options for like defensive counterplay, right? Or for at least like switch-ins to Blizzard. There's Miltank, because we did get that from the drops. I don't have it up here, but Miltank is definitely a relevant drop. If I remember to, I'll comment some on that. There's Togedemaru. Like, you could have even like Spadef Tog. That would be a pretty decent Vanilluxe check, right? It doesn't have hidden power this gen, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright, that's fair. Savali's Steel, similarly, doesn't have to worry about hidden power this gen. That's really it when you look at consistent counterplay, right? Because a lot of the other things just freeze dry or toxic. So Vanilluxe is an interesting Pokemon because last generation it was definitely most notorious for this set right here. Nice choice specs Vanilluxe, because what you would do is you would click this move and you'd have this ability. Blizzard's not ever missing. It does not miss. And Vanilluxe, it's not the strongest Pokemon, but 110's pretty darn good, and a lot of them were running Modest. 257 was considered enough speed. In this tier, I think you could still run Modest, but even the calcs that I've seen with Timid, it hits really hard. And so a lot of the counterplay to Vanilluxe, either, from what I've seen, isn't consistent because it has like no recovery, so like that's when you're looking at like Scarf Togedemaru, Savali's Steel. Clefairy has recovery, but only Spadef sets can have a chance at not being 2-hit KO'd by non-Modest Blizzard, and those are just forced into spamming soft-boiled. You're risking freeze, obviously, with that, and again, you're relying on this not being Modest. Now, the set that I think, or the variant that most people are going to obviously talk about is Heavy-Duty Boots. A big form of counterplay last generation of Vanilluxe, other than just having like checks to it or revenge killing it, was you're hoping to force it out repeatedly. You know, get your stealth rock up and then play aggressively around it. Every time it comes in, double to what your offensive means of counterplay was. So they would have to just switch back out and keep taking rocks damage and eventually just be too weak to avoid being like picked off by a weak defensive Pokemon's hit. This item that I still want banned because I think it's stupid and removes integral parts of gameplay. It just negates that. And the really good thing about Vanilluxe is beyond how good it is in terms of an offensive Pokemon. Just these two moves right here, that's all you need. Let's look at some other moves against Taunt. Toxic. This was a staple set last gen. Taunt, Toxic, Vanilluxe just absolutely clowned all over stuff like Miltank. Because you'd poison it, it either would go for Heal Bell to try to get rid of the Toxic, or maybe just try to like set rocks as you're forced out. Nope. This also prevents it from recovering health. Oh, but did you forget? Vanilluxe got Aurora Veil this gen. Like, you're just adding on these new ways of teching Vanilluxe to provide utility in games in which maybe it's not a great breaker because the other team just has a whole bunch of Pokemon that can take that Blizzard, and maybe even force it out of power points. And if you get Vanilluxe to have to only use Freeze Dry, you're kind of winning a game against it. Vanilluxe doesn't want to use Freeze Dry, it doesn't want to use Flash Cannon, you know, if you're running a spec set. It wants to just click Blizzard. It wants to click Blizzard 8 times, and once those 8 times are gone, it wants your team to be dead, or close to. But, oh, don't you forget, Vanilluxe, it is still customizable for buy now, and you can get your Toxic Protect Vanilluxe to not only scout choice Pokemon like Toxic Croak Diesel, but to stack up all that great residual with Toxic and Snow Warding Hail's damage. Snow Warding's hail damage. Like, this mod's just absurdly good. Offensively, utility-wise, it doesn't really even have a bad matchup against offense. Offense is going to have at least 1 or 2 Pokemon that Vanilluxe outspeeds, or doesn't get OHKO'd by. Even the Silvalis don't manage to OHKO you, and you do a whole bunch to the non-resistant ones with your Blizzard. So even in those matchups, so long as you get that one aggressive double switch, or that one safe pivot with U-turn as your opponent switches, you can get Vanilluxe in, and because offense teams aren't going to have a, you know, sturdy defensive answer, it may be like a couple soft checks. Like maybe a Rapidash and a Scarf Togedemaru or something. They're not going to hold up. Yes, Vanilluxe isn't very fast, right? There are switches to Blizzard, but I find Vanilluxe has a pretty easy time working around those issues. You don't have to always be in a bad position with it. I feel it's pretty easy to get into a good position. Team support to enable Vanilluxe getting into battle safely is really not hard to find. NU has a plethora of the Volt turn move users, be it Sylvally, be it something like Liepard, be it like Basculin. Hell, if you're still running Teleport Fairy, it's really easy to find chances to get him for free, and with heavy duty boots, you don't even have to worry about clearing hazards and it getting chipped down like that. I really don't see how to justify keeping this mon in a tier right now. I'm not saying there isn't counterplay. What I'm saying is, much like Gen 7, that counterplay is not significant enough. And I would say there's even less counterplay this gen, just because there's no Incineroar, there's no Delphox, those are two of the best Vanilluxe answers. There's also no Pursuit. So, I don't really know what we're expected to do about Vanilluxe, but I ain't looking forward to trying to figure it out on what it got. Next we got Gallade. Now, last gen Gallade wasn't a particularly amazing Pokemon, mostly because it was a fighting type in Passimian's tier. And while Medicham managed to find some semblance of viability, just because of how absurdly powerful it was right off the bat, thanks to pure power, Gallade didn't find that same level of consistency, I don't think. And even now, when you see Sun and Moon NU games played, I think Medicham is still significantly more prevalent in Gallade. I don't really ever see Gallade, but I still see Medicham some. And of course, Passimian's everywhere. This generation, the big competition would be with like Toxicroak, because I think Gallade is definitely just better than Sock. Looking at stats, yeah, it's a little bit slower, but it's comparably powerful, and it's at least got some workable special bulk, so you're not getting picked off by random attacks as easily. But the big thing Gallade's got going for it is how strong it is thanks to Swords Dance, and that it has access to priority. I forget, does it like a Sucker Punch? I got Shadow Sneak. Okay, it doesn't get Sucker, but it gets Shadow Sneak. Shadow Sneak's cool. I've always been a fan of Shadow Sneak Gallade. I think I was kind of one of the few people that liked it last gen, but I think it'd be really good right now as well, just for picking off stuff like the Rotom and other frail mons that are running around like Gourgeist, like Frostlass. But having this Psychic Fighting Dual Stab is really good right now, because most of your checks to fighting types are going to be things like, well, ghosts and poisons. Toxicroak has Earthquake for those, but you're still being forced off of your stab attack, and so if your opponent predicts you to, you know, go for your fighting type check. What did I just say there? What? If your opponent decides to go... If your opponent predicts you to go for your Earthquake, predicting them to pivot and do, say, like a Garbodor, they're punished a lot less than if someone's trying to play around a Gallade. Is what I'm trying to get at. Toxicroak's dual stabs are easier to figure out some mid-ground for, compared to Gallade's. Plus, Gallade also has options like Knockoff. It could run the Scarf set, because it's 125, man, that's strong. And 80 base speed's more than enough with a Choice Scarf to be at a decent spot. Has utility moves like Trick and Destiny Bond. Just overall offers a lot to a team. I guess it got Air Slash this gen, or it had it last gen and I just didn't know because it sounds like an awful move. Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a whole lot of experimentation in terms of sets with Gallade. I really feel like it'd be only Swords Dance, and then occasionally you see a Choice Scarf set pop up. But it's just so immediately powerful, and that dual stab combination is really difficult to work around, I feel, in this current tier. I don't know about Gallade being broken as much as like one of these two, because it's not as immediately powerful, at least for as free as Vanilluxe and Taurus, because this has to spam like CC, and at least Zen Headbutt has immunities. So I mean, sure, Body Slam has immunities too, but like, most of the immunities bar Kofa aren't switching into your Throat Chop at all. And while I guess you could say the same for, oh, well, CC switch-ins aren't switching into Zen Headbutt as easily. I feel like we probably have more generic physically defensive Pokemon that can like take hits from Gallade. Kofa being an example of one. A couple of the Gourgeists, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure you could tell I'm very conflicted on how to feel about Gallade as well, because on paper, I feel like it probably is broken as hell. But I'm not sure. The only thing that kind of holds it back for me is the speed, but like, much like Vanilluxe, I don't know if that's enough, or I don't think that's really enough. And we got the same deal with Decidueye here, right? These are going to be like the four that I'm not sure on. Or these two are the ones I don't know if I would want banned or not, but I want to vote on with the other council people. Was Decidueye. What was its problem last gen? Say it with me. Incineroar, the team player cat. That's not in you anymore. Decidueye has been officially freed. And so, you can see Swords Dance, you can see Nasty Plot, you can see, like, Choice Band even, probably. You can see Choice Specs for sure. Got Hurricane this gen as well, and while that would be a lot better if we had Incineroar around, it's still a nice extra addition, because Decidueye lost access to Hidden Power, and I think, while that wasn't really ever used, it at least gave you another move to have without just being dual stabs and U-turn. To be fair, really all you need is dual stabs and U-turn, and this mom puts in a whole bunch of work. Yeah, it's a very slow Pokemon. Not very slow, but it's not very fast. Base 70's good, but not great. Miltank is definitely staying in NU, or it'll drop to PU. But the Decidueye is just looking really hard to deal with defensively as well. The one caveat is Grass Ghost is pretty vulnerable in this current meta, I would say. Mostly because Poltergeist from other ghosts, and all the other ghosts are faster than Decidueye. And I mainly talk about like Gourgeist Small and, oh, what's that other one called? Ooh, Frostlass. Like, I think that would harm Decidueye's overall just ability to be used. I'm very interested to see how Decidueye and Gourgeist Small end up competing with each other, because Decidueye, what it has over Gourgeist Small is it can run special sets, so you're not forced into running those physical sets with Poltergeist. The big thing about being able to run special sets too is this makes you a better water type switch-in. I've harped on a lot that Gourgeist Small's issue for me has always been I want to switch into water moves, but I can't, because if I switch into Scald, I'm risking getting burned. Decidueye doesn't have that issue as much. And of course, beyond that, I already went into set diversity earlier when I listed off a bunch of sets. That is a huge thing that Decidueye would have over Gourgeist as well. It is just so versatile. Between physical sets, special sets, even Defog as an option. It has a lot of options. And I don't know, like, what's gonna end up going down with Decid. Again, it is hard for me to think about what's checking Pokemon because the team builder's still not updated. I don't, off the top of my head, know all the new Pokemon, unfortunately. But, I mean, there's Skuntank, bulky poison types in general, like Hell, Weezing as well, Garbodor. Those will be able to check this to some degree. We also have other dark types, like Silvally Dark, like Liepard, like Alolan version, to hold this thing down. I think a lot of it with these two Pokemon, and maybe even Vanilluxe to some extent, but I'm kind of assuming these two are getting banned based on what overall community consensus is. We look at these two, I think it's mostly going to come down to how much do we feel offensive counterplay suffices in terms of dealing with these two Pokemon. I think the big thing is going to be, do we feel we can revenge kill these Pokemon well enough? Do we feel we can pivot, we can like double switch as they come in and force them to not do anything of worth in the entire game? Do we have enough means of doing that to keep them in check and consider them balanced? Right now I don't know, because the tier's been out for all of like, I don't know, 6 hours maybe? Not very long. So I hesitate to make any specific claims for now on these two at least. These two, given this thing's previous history in a higher power level tier, higher power level of NU, and in Tauros, just on paper to me at least, seems a lot more problematic, mostly because the speed makes it harder to find offensive means of counterplay. Not that they don't exist, of course. You got faster Scarfers. They're probably, I don't know, the naturally faster Pokemon aren't that great at checking it. You have like a Alolan version and some shitmons like Boltund and Jolteon. Let's get into some Pokemon I actually think are going to stay in the tier. One of them's Kangaskhan. Now, this is obviously an Oras NU staple, a black and white NU staple even, an NU staple for a lot of gens. And we have the perfect tools to recreate some great bog standard Kangaspikes teams. Like, damn, man, you slap a nice Silk Scarf on this. You know, nice Scrappy, which is also makes you immune to Intimidate now, so if you run into a random Mawile move user, Mawile move. See, I said Mawile move because I accidentally clicked a button that just reorganized us all by move. I don't really know how. I always do that by accident. I never know how to fix it. Oh, damn it. Whatever. But Scrappy makes you immune to Intimidate now, so Mawile can't randomly be annoying if you run into a Mawile user. There are a couple of them right now. I think that was mostly for the Scyther meta, but they still exist. You got Fake Out with this, you got Sucker Punch, so you get that lovely double priority. And unlike Stoutland, which dropped to PU as well, and I don't think will be usable at all here, Kangaskhan has a normal move worth using. Double Edge. So it is actually pretty useful. It of course has Earthquake for coverage, and it has some random special attacks that maybe if... I say it has special attacks plural. I mean, it's really like Fire Blast, Hydro Pump. They exist if you wanted to run one of them. I don't think I ever would. They sound pretty bad, but they're there. Yeah, oh god, 40 and you don't even have... Never mind. Disregard that. You're pretty much always going to be running... that's not what I meant. Type, Double Edge, Fake Out, Earthquake, Sucker with Silk Scarf. It's going to be like the most common set. Max Tech, Adamant. Jolly has a niche in outspeeding Croak though, so I could see that as well. I think I've hit one team and I have Jolly on my Kanga just because Croak. I think Adamant's going to be overall better to buff Fake Out and Sucker Punch. Yeah, Spike's support obviously is great for this Mon. Being able to force chip on a lot of the switch-ins that would want to come into Kanga, such as like Pharaoh Seed, Kofa, it's really helpful. They don't have good recovery, and so when you pair this with like your own Pharaoh Seed or with a Garbodor, it's really good at chipping away at those answers. Hell, even like neutralizing Gas Weezing wouldn't want to keep having to switch into Spikes, because I think, Weezing probably takes at least one Double Edge from Kanga before not being able to switch in a second time. It's got good physical bulk. I do think maybe there is one other set that comes to mind when I think of what could be run on this, and this is that nasty Whirlpool power-up punch set. I think I have an Oras team with it. It exists. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let's move on to Weezing. Now, Weezing's obviously great as a glue Pokemon for the tier. Offers a lot of things between being a fighting check, a ground immunity if you run Levitate, offering Toxic Spike support. Will-O-Wisp is just generally great. It has that Corrosive Gas move, maybe that's okay. I mean, there's really not a whole lot that I need to say about Weezing. I think everybody knows what it does. It's just a physically defensive Pokemon. It sits around, it checks all of your physical attackers. And what more is there to mention? Helmet's nice, punishes like light hard U-turn. Wisp is cool for crippling Silvally. It's just one of those Pokemon that you really like to have in your tier because of how much it can do. Honestly, yeah. This is a huge reason about Miltank being so nice, bro. Oh, it just does so much. So, because I really don't have anything else to say about Miltank, Weezing, I'll make some mentions of other Pokemon that came down, like my boy Inzo Gorlami is mentioning. Miltank's a really good one. It's a normal type with Stealth Rock, and I've been harping for a while on the point of, wow, all of our Stealth Rockers bar like Clefairy or ground types. Now we got one that isn't. And yeah, also checking Rotom is just great. Miltank's also nice because it's a rocker with recovery. I mean, I guess Sandaconda with rest, but we'll disregard that. It has much more reliable recovery. You're not trying to pray for Shed Skin waking you up quickly. You can just Milk Drink up, back up 50%. Good. Yeah, this is a big thing, Gallade being outspeeded by. That was what I was trying to say. Kind of applies to Vanilluxe too, but that's why I'm still like not sure. Do I think Gallade needs to go or not? Miltank's just generally great. It's like Weezing. There's a lot of stuff that it does that's appreciated by builds. Hell, even Stall could see a lot more usage now, because Stall's got stuff like Avalugg, Miltank, Kofa. There are a lot of Stall Pokemon. Quag, my god. And we got some other stuff too, but unfortunately, I cannot view it. in here, so I'm gonna have to try to remember what we got off the top of my head. I can mention some Pokemon that probably won't be good. Lilligant? I don't know if it'll be any good. Losing Hidden Power was huge for it, because now its coverage is like Eldegoss levels of terrible. Fortunately, it has Sleep Powder and Quiver Dance, so it could just become Butterfree version 2.0 and just run Giga Drain, but it's a lot harder to deal with Hurricane than it is Giga Drain, you know? So I don't know if Lilligant will be able to do anything. Executor? Maybe that could be good? Grass Psychic's obviously pretty bad defensively in terms of how many weaknesses it has, but it's also pretty nice defensively, as it offers a few useful resistances in terms of ground, fighting, water, electric. Maybe that finds some use. We lost Magneton, which was a bit surprising to see that go up to RU. I didn't really think Magneton trapped anything in RU, but eh. Of course, we lost Scyther. Surprisingly to UU, from the UU people I've talked to, apparently they were surprised to see Scyther go all the way up there too. But yeah, I think that mostly covers what I want to say about these shifts. We got 2 in my eyes clearly broken, so we got 2 maybe broken, and we got a couple just really nice new additions. Oh, Cramorant as well, so Eternally can finally have his mascot, which is just, that's great for everyone. Big tier leader man happy, the rest of us can be happy, right? Yeah. I guess I could also go over a team that I made, because, oh, that's not the team that I made. It's just, like, look at this, man. You ever seen a more boring Oras-esque era team? Come on. We call this the standard. It's not very hard to build in the tier right now, I don't think. Most of the team building patterns are just super linear and work around taking advantage of a lot of new drops. Normal spam for as long as Taurus is still down here will probably also be good. But honestly, I'm kind of the teams that I build right now are probably going to be with the assumption we don't have Taurus and Vanilluxe long term. Oh, Pinsir! Yeah, Pinsir also was dropped. That should be a pretty decent Pokemon. I don't know what sets it could run. I mean, we've seen Scarf Rocks, but that was in a tier with Xatu, so I don't know if that's even necessary. Could also just be good like as an offensive Pokemon, because its stats are pretty nice. Overall though, I think having more toys to play with in NU is going to be really good. As a lot of people have been complaining about their feeling like there wasn't a whole lot that you could use. Maybe that finally changes. Anyhow though guys, I think that's about it for this one. I will try to get an actual like live recorded soon with battles, because I do want to play in the new tier some. All I've played so far is one ladder tour in which I set up spikes and then I press buttons with Kangaskhan, so that was pretty difficult. But until then, I'm out. I'll see you guys then. Peace.